I have a quote that I got from your shit. It's signs of the times, observing, analyzing, and capturing human behavior in a split second. This is the base of how I create street photography. Everything from small gestures to expressions through physical forms to major shifts in behavior inspire what I choose to capture. Observing the undeniable and obvious changes in behavior of the masses has impacted the way I see. The small gestures become huge acts of kindness. The restrictions become normalcy. Religious expression and tradition become like rafts. Opinions become weaponized. Everything intensifies as I find myself dissociating, viewing objectively with a lens on current culture. Like I was looking at all your photos that you post on your site and on your Instagram and reading some of your other interviews. And one of the things that stood out to me right away is that, like seeing your photos, it made me appreciate just, I guess, New York more, honestly, because, I have like a love-hate in relationship with this place. I take the train every day for hours. I like so much noise. I go down the street and someone's doing this or doing that. I see someone tweaking out in the corner and I'm like, I need to like get out of this place and have a relaxation. Like I equate like a good time to being able to get out of the city and relax. And I see your photos and you see like, for example, like some buildings in Harlem and you're like, so much beauty, so much different colors, so much different cultures. The mixing of the rich and the poor, Hispanics, blacks, Hindus, all types of different people. It's like a beautiful place. And it honestly, like when I left my crib the next day, I was like, this front of my building is beautiful.
That's dope.
And I never think that. I'm always like, I fucking hate the front of my building.
Yeah.
And I thought that it was beautiful the next day. So, like, I guess my question is, how has shooting photos changed the way that, like, you see shit?
That's a good question. I mean, I love that you chose that quote because that was something I wrote when I was doing a lot of documentary photography in Harlem and throughout Manhattan as the pandemic hit and things were really changing. And I found myself in a place where, like, I wasn't creating out of hobby or out of love for something. I was like creating out of desperation. Like I really didn't know exactly what I was gonna do with my time because I had been working a full-time job since I was like straight out of high school. I took a gap year instead of going to school and working, and took internships. So that was my first real experience of being able to photograph without any hindrance of time. And that was a really dark moment, I think, for most people, especially in New York. And the fact that I had that outlet and was able to view things through my camera instead of through my own eyes and through my own experiences, it kind of shifted the way I was interacting with the space and in general with the whole kind of like, circumstances of everybody being locked indoors and scared for their lives. And I think that kind of carries the same theme of the answer to your question is like, I love all of the negativity that comes with New York. Like what people would associate, like you said, of a good time, like that's not necessarily what I associate with a good time. Like I was fortunate enough to get out of the city a lot as a child, but now that I'm kind of stuck in the city a little bit more, I've chosen to really embrace those things that might take a toll on most people, and they really build me up, to be honest. Like being able to observe the way that other people live so intimately within the city has been something that just like fuels me on another level. And like it's a very kind of like intimate thing for myself because a lot of my processing of why I do what I do happens in split seconds and in fleeting moments like I was talking about. And like those things really stick with me. Like for example, when I said, small gestures become bigger, and I think if we collectively view these smaller gestures and put more value to them, we're going to enjoy living in a city like that more and more. But overall, yeah, I mean, taking photos I don't think it's changed the way I've interacted with New York, because I think ultimately that was the type of appreciation I was raised with. My parents are community college teachers, and, all of the, horror stories and, cultural mixes and blocks and, the maneuvering through different types of societies and echelons of the world, like, has really built me to who I am. So I think it didn't necessarily change the way I interact, but it is definitely a very direct view of what I see and how I interact with it.
No, I think you do a really good job at showing that within your photos as well, because, like, I don't know. I feel like when you're someone who's shooting photos and you're out there looking for things, kind of like a skater.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking at things extremely differently. Like, just the perspective that you view the shit from might completely change your opinion on it. Like,
Yep.
a skater would see a ledge that's like just mad crusty with wax all over it and be like, "Yo, sick! I
Yeah.
could grind this thing."
I love
Whereas a regular person's gonna be like, "Yeah, I can't even sit on this thing now,
Mhm.
but without getting my pants dirty. Like, if I
Yes.
touch it, there's like some weird shit on it that I don't know what it is. Like, it's gonna look completely different." And I think that's very important. Living in New York, or living anywhere you live, if you can't really change your surroundings as much, or you're having a hard, you guys have to change the way that you look at it. And as someone who's shooting photos, not only do you do that for yourself, but like you could do it, make other people change the way they look at it. Like I literally, since just doing like just viewing with the eye of like you coming on the show, I'm like, yo, this place is actually so much better than I like. It's just funny because the next day I'm like, yo, this is actually looks nice, and I'm like, am I just stupid or what? Like that, like my whole opinion can change just from like seeing some shit.
I mean, I love that you're bringing that up because one of my OGs told me maybe about 5 or 6 years ago when I was going through a hard time. I lost a friend and my grandma in the same week, and I was like really trying to figure out like what everything was worth and like why we do what we do and just like getting my footing. And he told me that, you know, the negative and the positive exist in the same moment all the time, and you really just have to have the strength and like foresight to be positive instead of negative. And like I think that is reflected a lot within my work because like you said, a lot of the things that I'm photographing might be viewed in a negative sense, like somebody with a fucked up face, somebody who's wearing something really like insane, or like gritty ass buildings, or that ledge you talked about. Like people are going to interact with that negatively. But if you approach it with appreciation and gratitude for experiencing whatever it is that you're sharing, whether you have a predisposed notion of what it's going to be, like you're going to interact with these things in beautiful ways. So like when I'm outside and I find myself in the place where I want to start taking photos, because I do have to find myself within a certain kind of mindset or like spiritual state to start photographing, that's kind of the basis. When I really start feeling inspired by what's around me and like feeling the energy of like what's coming out of people's mouths and, you know, just like their expression and the buildings and all these things, like that's really where it starts for me.
Yeah. No, it's an amazing way to like view things, to be honest, because in a way then you're like good anywhere you go, because you can be like in the cut of America, like with nothing around, which someone from the city would say like, yo, there's literally nothing, this is the most boring place ever. But you can find like, I don't know, fucking an antique store and like spend all day in there. Absolutely. And like appreciate every little thing, and like, or talk to the owner, and like they have millions of stories, and like anywhere you go, that's like an amazing thing to appreciate, because I get caught up in that too, like living in the city, like especially like working a 9 to 5, traffic every day, like, but like I find little moments where I do appreciate, like even like listening to a little song while I'm on my bike or whatever, like a fucking nice sunset or some shit. Yes, you know, like exactly. Like living in the moment is very important instead of dreading the future of what like being in traffic or like your next day. It's like it's very important. You know?
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, finding the beauty in things is exactly what photographers are supposed to do. I mean, like you look at a beautiful portrait of someone that might not be, you know, typically beautiful, and you're attracted to whatever they're bringing to that image and that, you know, screen or photo that you're looking at. And yeah, being able to apply that has been something that's like I'm crazy grateful for, and just like has been really empowering on a personal tip to be able to go to different places and, you know, see a tag from somebody I fuck with or like really admire, or see, you know, a spot that somebody skated that I was into, or just like have a photo reference or an idea of the context of the neighborhood or where I'm at. And like being able to view things in that light has been really, you know, it's impacted my work a lot, but it also has impacted me as a person.
How do you think it's changed the way you view society and social events? Like, for example, if any catastrophes happen or even good things happen and there's like a celebration at a park or a protest at a park or any of the events that are happening, as someone who's there to document the moment, and of course everyone's biased, but like in a semi-objective way, how do you think that's changed the way you do that?
I have a few answers to this. That's a good question. One thing that I have to put out there is kind of like a basis of how I've been photographing over the last few years has been this idea of like Sonder, which is the realization that everyone else's life is just as vivid and, you know, has as much movement and, you know, intensity as your own, and really coming to the realization within a very specific moment of being amongst a large group of people has been something that's really like been able to give me a really objective view while being kind of like subjective at the same time, which is, you know, counterintuitive and a little oxymoronic. But in general, like, I try to do both at the same time. I try to like really watch for, you know, small intricacies of body language or the way that somebody's speaking or an accent or, you know, just a type of expression, to trying to view it from third person, like I'm not even myself, and just looking at humans as humans. And, you know, definitely being a photographer in the way that I photograph has changed the way that I interact with those spaces. But, I mean, it's really interesting. I take a lot of joy in just observing people, and like things are always more intense when there's something to celebrate or something to grieve, or, you know, an idea of collectivity. And I think that when I approach those spaces, I just kind of get really ready to photograph. I just kind of like prepare myself to step into that space and try to set my mind, you know, somewhere along the spectrum of objective and subjective and really, you know, micro and macro. I'm just kind of trying to balance the both while I'm in those spaces.
When you're shooting things like your friends or the good times that you're having, maybe not social events, but just like moments that are very they're like dear to everybody. They would be dear to like people hanging out that are your friends. Do you have a feeling like, yo, one day this person will be gone, one day we'll be gone, or we won't have anything to do with each other, and this moment will be cemented in time? Because I know that as time goes on, photos have so much more meaning. A photo that it could have meant absolutely nothing when you took it, like, oh, this is a trash photo, it doesn't mean anything, like, it's not beautiful, it's just like it's showing the moment of this random person sitting there doing nothing interesting. You look at that shit 5 years later and you're like, yo, how this, I should have shot more in that moment. Like, even just with cell phone photos, like you can experience those things. But as someone who's conscious of these, of taking photos and just viewing people's actions and taking great joy in those types of things, do you ever think that these moments will be gone and you're here documenting them, making them somewhat here, like, not forever, but, you know, you have something of it?
Yeah, I mean, like I said in that quote, every moment is fleeting. Like, it's going to leave and never be there again. I always look back on those events and those times and feel like I should have photographed more. Like, even if I shot 10, 15 rolls at a party, like, I'm going to think of that one little thing that I missed on the side that was, like, so fucking hilarious, or, like, that one person, like, was in a room with someone else that has never been there. But, you know, I try to view it within the context that I'm aware of. Like, I know people's faces. I know, you know, kind of the dynamics of how people interact, and, you know, especially within close friend groups, like my Shady Boys and, like, my oldest friends, Water Gang. Like, I understand how all of them kind of interact and what the, you know, significance of any, you know, moment might be, and I try to reflect that within what I'm shooting. But, you know, I always wish I shot more, and I think that, you know, photos age like wine. Like, they're gonna sit in my, you know, in my distillery or whatever the fuck it's called for years, and then one day I'm gonna look at them and be like, holy shit, like, this was a moment. And I do that a lot, where I look through my archives and kind of realize that, you know, some of the things that may not have had importance at the time really have substance moving forward, and vice versa. I mean, something that I think is mad sick right now, I might not really look back on and, like, be that fond of later. But I try to have foresight and predict, but there's no real way to do it. I mean, like, realistically. But definitely does change the way that I, you know, interact with those types of spaces. But as of lately, like, haven't really been doing much event photography, or I've been mostly focusing on, like, portraiture with friends and, like, trying to capture, like, their essence, or, like, you know, the context of the moment that I photographed that portrait. And but overall, I like broke my point and shoot recently. Haven't been out at parties. I've been super low key recently, so when it comes to that, it's been a little bit slow. But
yeah, I want to say, like, I agree that, like, photographs do age, like you said, like wine, I guess. But because I caught myself, like 2 weeks ago, my mom, she, like, showed me my old grandfather's World War II, like, photos. Yep. He was, like, this colonel in, like, a tank fleet in Russia. He saved, like, mad Jews and stuff. It was pretty crazy. And, like, I was just sitting on, like, the floor of my room, like, just it's like looking at these old pictures and like him and his gang like fucking like
So
wearing
crazy.
these crazy outfits like in these crazy environments, and I'm just like, yo, this is such a complete different time. Like his mindset must have been so different, and like these pictures themselves, like the material, like the paper was like, I've never even like felt anything like that before, and it was just like mesmerizing, thinking like how times have changed and like how like I just looking at that was like it was feeling like I was there with him. It's pretty crazy. And like,
Yeah, I mean, photos are time capsules, especially once, you know, like, I mean, World War II is something that we learned about in school. When you, like, pick up a photo, especially when you have, like, a family relation in that photo, it really does try to put you in their shoes. And I think ultimately that's what good photography works, like, really do. Especially if it's documentary style work or just, like, something done by a friend. Like, those are the most intimate moments that, like, you look back on and somebody, like, you said your mom showed you?
yeah,
Like,
she had, like,
has
a
those in a box.
portfolio, and I've never seen it
Yeah,
before.
she has those in a box somewhere. It's like our family photos. Like, I look back on photos of me and my brother and my sister as a baby, or like my parents when they're younger, and it just blows my mind every time. And I feel like every human kind of has that reaction to like photos that are close and near to dear to their heart, but also like it's a timestamp.
Yeah.
Like, that shit is ill. My grandfather was in World War II as well. He was a prisoner of war and escaped. I didn't meet him in my lifetime because he passed away before I was born, but shout out him.
Yeah,
For real.
definitely.
Are there any that you don't post because they're just too, I don't know, like you I've heard of people saying that this photo means too much to them, so they want to just keep it personal. Are there any that you have like that?
Hundreds.
Really?
Like, genuinely hundreds. I mean, when I first started photographing, 90% of the work I was doing was personal work. So that was when I was kind of creating with a very wide-eyed view of the world and not really an idea of what I was really doing, just shooting for what attracted me. And I've heard of artists trying to, like, revisit that place in their mind, because once you do an art form for so long, you kind of understand the nuances more and try to find your voice, and it becomes this kind of, like, conflict. But when I was first shooting, like, it was just what I loved doing, so I was doing it. You know, I took thousands and thousands of photos, and I was posting a lot of those like one by one when I was first on Instagram. But, you know, as I've started to do more commercial work, I take hundreds of photos every week on my own time, and I share probably 5 or 6 every month, maybe more, maybe a little less depending. But, you know, most of my work I eventually just want to put into books or print. Unfortunately, everything's on the internet, which I actually enjoy myself personally. But, yeah, I want to do something more important with them. I want them to be in a place of prominence eventually. I want them to mean something not just to me, but to other people. And I definitely have so many photos that mean so much to me that have just never seen the light of day. And the ones that I do share that I feel like are really important to me just aren't as received well, unfortunately. Like, my commercial work and the work with, like, you know, more recognizable faces or brands, like, that stuff gets mad love. But my personal work doesn't really, and I think that's something that a lot of artists struggle with because it's personal. There's no context for anybody else. It's me. Unless I give it a real narrative, people aren't really going to understand where it comes from. So finding that voice for myself is difficult. So I probably won't share a lot of my personal work extensively until I've really found my voice and really feel like it's the time to share that stuff. Yeah, hundreds of portraits of people on the street, you know, small gestures, children navigating spaces, architecture, things that mean a lot to me. That stuff's not really on my gram if you look too deep. Like, if you go far enough, you can see kind of where I started doing commercial work and where, like, that fall off is if you pay attention to it. But yeah, there's a lot of photos that mean, it's not because they mean too much to me. It's like I want them to mean the same to everybody. I want them to mean the same. If I put out a photo that's my heart and soul, I want people to be like, oh, fuck, that's his heart and soul.
It's just going to be hard, right? Because it's like you're shooting them with a very specific eye, whereas the common person is going to see the photo who knows nothing about or doesn't care about shooting anything, or like maybe they're a lacrosse player, maybe they're like playing chess. So, like, it's like them maybe trying to... It's not the same, obviously, because photos are more universal than, like, look at this amazing chess move. Like, that's way more specific. But you know what I mean? They're not going to be able to appreciate the beauty as much as someone who, like, saw it, was also there, remembers the smells, remembers the sights, remember how the temperature was. And then it's gonna be difficult. So that when you are able to do that, for me, I found it very effective. like when I was on your Instagram and I was seeing the photos with the longer style captions, I felt myself get way more into the moment than if I would just see the photo and one or two words. Because I don't know, reading it and then the way that you're speaking and writing, it goes really well with the photos. It was able to like entrance me more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Also, like you shot a photo of it, like it seemed like you were waiting on the train platform outdoors, and then you shot a photo of like 3 buildings. That like I know that if I was there, I would have been like, I need to get this train needs to get here so I can leave.
Yeah.
But you were like, you said like the way that whatever you said, it seemed like you were comparing that to like the view of like say like some mountains. Some like beautiful shit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's what I need to do. I need to be able to see things this way because this is like where I live. So what the fuck is the point of being all tight and shit? Like, there's no point. I bet I got to learn to, do what you're doing, which is see the beauty in these things because there is a beauty in these things. It's just a matter of like you said, whether you can see it or not. As someone who's, you talk about just observing others and taking great joy and just trying to see the culture and the events happening. What do you think about what's happening in New York? What do you think about, like, for example, New York is a place where there's mad people living in a small space. Not only that, but there's a lot of different cultures and ethnicities living in a small space, pretty much cramped together. Of course, you're someone who was born here. You love this place. It's made you pretty much who you are. All your interests are very, very, like, New York based from people from here or cultures that were made here, whether they be, like, different kinds of music or graph, but it's a place where there's a lot of police presence. There's a lot of this, a lot of that. What do you think about that?
That's a loaded question.
Yeah.
I mean, the negative aspects of New York are deeply negative. Like, it is a very the corners and crevices of New York are very dark, violent places. And I think we all have slight experiences within that, especially if you grew up over here. I mean, there's beauty in pain and there's beauty in darkness. But I mean, institutionally and with, systematic racism and the way that people are disenfranchised and disadvantaged by the systems in place in New York is really heavy and fucked up. And, it takes a very big toll on me and especially my peers who are, not a white man. And it's really difficult to look past those things. And, it's a very constant and, intense reality of living in such a vibrant and, diverse place. But ultimately, the result of, not the dark places, but the result of, like, the places that hold light within New York, it creates, like, the most beautiful, valuable shit in the world. Like, the fact that I was able to grow up in a building that was, mostly Dominican and Haitian, and my family was, one of the few white families, and I was able to experience extreme diversity, and, I didn't come from a lot, but, to go to a school where people were exorbitantly rich and to be in a building of people that were crazy poor and kind of have this spectrum of, economic and societal, examples of what life could be. They really built me up to who I am, and I'm, like, crazy grateful for those experiences. But overall, I mean, it's a mixed bag, bro. It's a mixed bag. I mean, I think shit is really good and really bad. They exist similarly. I think for the people who it's really bad, like, life is really fucking hard here. And I think for the people who are, able to make the best of it and come out of the mud, that's the most inspiring shit ever. And the people who grew up with, a silver spoon, shit's hard too, but, they were given advantages. But I'm trying to, with my work, somehow have an expression of that. Show the light and the dark. But I mean, New York is fucking beautiful, bro. Like, I love it here so much. Like, being able to take the train from Bensonhurst to where I'm staying at now to Flushing and just, like, look out the window and see so much shit and feel the energy of, like, all the people I'm sitting on this tiny box with and just, like, observe and feel everything. Yeah, like, I'm sitting next to one guy that's homeless and another person that probably has, a rack. They spends a rack every day. You feel me? Like that's just how it is here. But yeah, I don't really know. I don't really have a consensus or like a clear answer for like how I feel towards it. It's just like what I'm used to.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but overall, just being exposed to all the things you spoke on is a very big blessing.
Mm. Yeah, so definitely, I've asked a number of people that, and I always get different responses. But what I've noticed is that, from all the responses, is that it's because this place has all those, it has a bunch of positives, a bunch of negatives. It's like the negatives that pretty much have brought about a lot of the art and culture that has happened here.
Yep.
A lot of the just amazing things that have started here and then blew up around the world and became people's lives.
Yeah.
Became people's lives in Europe or in Boston and it's pretty much has been like the epicenter of it all happening.
Yeah.
In terms of the train, you spoke on your Instagram about how you didn't take the train for a while because of COVID.
Yeah.
And you were just transporting with other means. And for a lot of people in New York and for those who don't live here, it's like the train is kind of like a must. Like, depending on where you live, it's like you're going to take that every day, 2 to 4 times a day, forever. That's going to be a place, depending on where you live, where you spend a good amount of your time. And you talked about how it's always been a place of in a way, like a comfortable place for you, where you can get surrounded by the city's energy. And, I just wanted to hear your relationship with the MTA and just taking the train in general.
Man, I love the train with all my heart. Like, now that I have to commute, an hour and a half, 2 times a day, every day, like, at first I thought that would be a burden, but now, like, I meditate on the train every day. Like, I will close my eyes for 15 minutes and meditate on the train.
Yeah.
And people say that you're supposed to drown out the sounds, but I, like, completely embrace them in my head. And, the train has been a place of, like, true solace for me. Like, I've received some of the best advice from strangers, I, like, have witnessed things that I have never could have imagined in my mind's eye just by accident going on the train. Like, the experiences that I have witnessed and been a part of on the public transit, like, that shit is so deeply ingrained in my DNA and the DNA of the people around me. There's one idea that I pick up on a lot about, commuting in general. When you're commuting in a car, you're alone or with family members. Like, that's a very kind of like, regular thing for an American or anyone else that drives to wherever they need to be every day. And I think there's something really comforting and cool about that, but it makes me personally really uncomfortable. Like, being in a very enclosed, intimate setting with like 40 to 50 people that I've never met and will probably never see again, and just observing how they move and how they blink and how they breathe and shit, like, that empowers me to go to work and do the same. Every little, like, generous social gesture of a head nod or, holding a door, letting somebody get a seat, or even just moving your bag to the side, like, that's an incredibly deep thing if you really think about it. Like, you're literally putting yourself in a place where you're in a small, tight, uncomfortable environment that's loud to get from one place to another with all these people. Like, that's just really, like, when you break it down to, like, your regular human experiences, like, that's pretty abnormal. Like, that's really quite a thing. And it really is just like that idea of bringing yourself, like watching yourself from third person. If I watch myself from third person every day, I'd be like, what the fuck type of life are you living? Like, you are really tripping. And, like, being able to have that realization every morning on the train is just so ill. Like, I go to work, tired and beat up by New York, but at the same time, like, I'm fired up by having seen some ill-ass graphic on somebody's shirt, or, like, seen somebody tweak out in, like, a wild way, or just anything. Like, those small experiences that I just am fortunate enough to experience just on my way to work every day. Dude, the train is fucking magic. The train is magic, bro. If you really think about people going underground, millions of people are underground together all day, moving tens of miles every second. Like, the complexity and like beauty of that, like if you put a symphony to that shit, it would make sense, because it is just such a beautiful movement and flow of people and energy and exchanges. Like if you were to try to mark every exchange between eye contact in person, like you would have, you know, a Bible in a second. You feel me? Like those things are really sick to me. Like the train is everything.
That's
Like I see 90-year-old men like hunched over with a cane and like a grocery bag on the train, and most people be like, oh, like where are his caretakers? Me, I'm like, you're sick. Like you are about to walk up all those stairs, you're about to get to your apartment, you're about to get in the elevator or walk up wherever you live at, and you're gonna make your fucking food because you're 90 and you're like just as strong as everybody else. Like I love seeing old people navigate, children navigate. Like it really, really is so sick to me. I want to be that person. I want to be the 90-year-old on the train. You know, I want to be the person that's raising a child that's running the street at 8 years old. Like, I love that shit. I think it's sick.
No doubt. I mean, I don't know. I've had those experiences 100%. You know, like I went to school in the last stop on the 1 train, Manhattan College.
Hell yeah.
And it would take me almost pretty much 2 hours to get there every day. 2 hours there, 2 hours back, 2 hours there, 2 hours back. Or even now, I go to the Bronx every single day. And I usually go once in the morning and once at night. And when I go in the morning, I've like spoken to him at times, but it's like I don't know. It's like peaceful. I get on, it's peaceful. I'm drinking my coffee. I'm reading whatever I'm reading. And, you know, it's just like everyone's going to work, and I'm seeing like, especially when I'm outside, I see like whatever. I see the sun rising. I see the globe. I see. Then if I'm under, I see like RD tags. I see. But then I've also had the other experience, which is, let's say it's like later, I want to get home. The shit has just stopped for an hour. Like I haven't moved for 25 minutes. And then a dude comes on, ass naked, eating with a plastic bag filled with Chef Boyardee.
Yeah.
Stuff in his face, and it's exploding everywhere, and he's doing spin kicks. And I'm like, then that part, what do you think about that part?
I mean, yo, it sucks, bro. Like, I mean, it's taken me 3 hours to get home from uptown before. Like, it sucks. Like, that shit is grueling, especially if you have your own things weighing on you. The day wasn't as good as you wanted it to be. You know, you have shit that's, you know, going through your mind. It's really hard to just sit there and be with that shit and to be inconvenienced by something. Yeah. What I love about it is accepting the lack of control. Like, if you want to live in a controlled environment, go ahead and do that. Everybody has, you know, if you have the means to go live somewhere that's easier to live, you can do that. If you are under the impression that you're in control of any commute you have, anytime you walk out your door, like, yo, one of my favorite James Baldwin, you know, moments is the main character in Goats Out on the Mountain walks to Central Park on the uptown side, and he goes to sit on some rocks, and he's observing people crossing the street, and all he can see is silhouettes, and he describes them as shadows dodging death at every turn. And I literally think about that every time I leave my crib, because it's like the moment you leave your crib, you have no control over what's going to happen to you. You are a blip. You're a piece of dust. You know, there's millions of people doing the same shit you're doing. And like, yeah, somebody coming on the train with Chef Boyardee doing, like, kick flips or whatever, like, bugging out, like, yo, that shit sucks, bro. Like, you don't want that. Nobody wanted that on the train. But, like, it's not up to you. Like, if you accept the fact that, like, it's not up to you, and you just kind of sit there and be like, this is bugged out. Like, I wish it wasn't this way, but I have to let go of control. Yo, life literally just, like, that, like, you know, whatever that like bass, like whatever the fuck that tune is for you, if you let that shit just ride, it's gonna be a way easier, you know, life in New York. You just like, I don't have control over shit when I leave my crib. My train is 20 minutes late and I'm 20 minutes late to work. Like, all right, I live in New York. Fuck, I have like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I love that shit. I think having no control over your life when you leave your door in New York is literally what it's all about. Like I I wouldn't want it any other way.
That's the thing. I feel like with people that live here too, they become like numb to that. They like
Yes.
I feel like they've came to an understanding that like they don't have control. If like somebody comes on the train, like they're like if somebody comes on the train, they already get into that mindset of like, oh shit, here we go, like this is it. You know what I mean? Like especially if they're like regulars like that live here. Like Modus was just on the show recently, and he told us some crazy story about how like he was about to sit down next to some dude. It was like an empty seat, and his book bag strap was like on the seat just ever so slightly, and he like just like moved it a little bit just so he could sit down without telling the dude. I mean, you know what I mean? Like it's not a big deal. So you're just sitting there for like 15 minutes listening to music, having a nice day, and the dude fucking gets up, grabs him by the shirt, pulls a machete to his neck, and his whole day changed right there. And he said that like at the next stop, only like 2 people got off. You know what I mean? Like people are like, all right, I guess I'm like I'm fine this second, so like it should be fine. I gotta get to where I'm going. Like forget the dude with the machete. Like you know, I think people just get numb to things and like used to things. I guess you know.
Yeah, I mean you gotta have a hard exterior to an extent in New York. I think the reason that I'm a little bit, more appreciative and kind of like susceptible of noticing these moments is because I'm not that hard. You feel me? Like I'm not jaded towards these things. That shit scares the fuck out of me every time I see something like that. I'm sitting there with anxiety. But that's because I'm interacting with that moment very, very purely. Like I'm like every single moment that someone might be jaded to, I feel like I'm either really scared or like I react very sensitively to my surroundings. Like if a bad song is playing, I need to turn that shit off right away because it's ruining my mood. If somebody gives me a certain look, whether it's positive or negative, it affects me very deeply. Like I can't smoke that much weed. I get high as shit. I can't drink that much. Like I get really drunk really easily. I'm very sensitive to the things that are in my life, whether I'm intaking it physically or just through my eyes or spiritually. Like these things affect me a lot. So I'm fortunate enough and unfortunate enough not to have that thick skin where like, I mean, if I see somebody get held up with a machete, I'm moving cars. Bro, I'm not with that shit. Like I'm good. Like in my experiences, like I would rather be good off that than interact with it. So I feel him. I mean, that shit sucks. But it is really crazy to see. I mean, for example, there's a dude on the N train. He always gets off at Kings Highway. I think he thinks he's singing, but he's screaming. And like he rips his shirt off sometimes. He bangs on the floor. Like he'll be doing crazy shit. And you really like, everybody in the car is uncomfortable because he's one of those people that could snap in a second and really change somebody's life. Most people just sit there like this. Yeah. Like completely staring off into the blue. I try to do the same and I can't do it. I'm going to get up and walk away. Like, it is really crazy to see how people interact with such crazy shit. I have a story. This dude, a few months ago, had a seizure next to me. Like, very crowded car. He starts seizing up. Fortunately, like, I have CPR experience and, like, I've been taught how to, I was a lifeguard at a camp for a little bit, so I was trained. And, like, I knew how to hold his head, and I was, not scared of COVID enough to, like, not get close to him. So I got close to him. I held his head. I went through all the steps. Nobody got up. Like, the train was at a stop. And I was yelling at people, like, somebody call the conductor, somebody stop the train, someone's having a seizure, and nobody reacted. It took 15 seconds of awkward silence for somebody to get up and just yell out the car, hey, we need help. Like, people are really desensitized. And I think because they're either super desensitized or so scared they can't approach it. And, like, both of those things are things that, like...
Well, it's also one of those, that social theory where when other people aren't doing it, you don't feel the need to do it. Like, I'm sure if you were walking, let's say you're hiking in upstate, and you're going to see someone having a seizure in the middle of the woods, you're going to probably stop. Pretty much almost everyone's going to stop.
Right.
But if it's on the train, like, I saw the same shit the other day. Me and my friends were going somewhere, and someone just straight up fell, like was probably ODing or something. People were just stepping over the body to just get on the train and be out. And it's like that's one of the things. There's people. It's rent is expensive. They have their work. They got their families. They got their lives. Maybe they're not even breaking even, so they don't have. It's like you have to. It's almost like the human needs to be first, like, somewhat satisfied with their hunger before they go away giving mad pieces of bread. So it's like, well, I don't give a fuck about if you're dead. You're going to hold up. That's what they're going to think. You're holding up the train.
No, people were sucking their
That's
teeth.
what they're going to say.
No. When the conductor came and told everybody on the train that the train was going to stop for 15 minutes, that another one was going to be across the platform soon, everybody sucked their teeth. Yeah. That was pretty disheartening for me.
Of course, yeah.
Like, I put myself at risk with COVID or whatever, and put myself literally like on my knees on the floor of the train with somebody's head in my hand that I didn't know, and people are upset that they're going to be late on their way home. It was late, like they weren't going. Like for the most part, those people were going to the crib. Mm-hmm. Like that really upset me. But when I answered the questions for the EMTs and like I was able to be on my way, like. The people who saw me do that and then were on the same train as me stared at me the whole time. There was something there. Whatever it was, I haven't really put my finger on it, but like that whole experience definitely showed me how much people are just like, into their own shit. I mean, that's the beauty of New York. Yeah. No one gives a fuck about you. That's why it's nice to walk down the street wearing whatever you want, doing whatever you want. But at the same time, it does suck that nobody really cares.
Bro, you could take it even further. Someone told me a story once. They were on the Q train, and somebody jumped in front of the tracks like they committed suicide. Bro, can you believe some people on the train were like, why couldn't he do that on his own time? Can you believe that shit? Like they were just like, damn, like I'm gonna be late to work now. It's crazy.
Well, you know what it is too. It's here you see, because unlike other places where most other cities and you drive, you're in your, like you said, your little box. You're in your controlled environment to an extent. There's no denying that a car is like pretty much way more controlled than a train, because on a train anyone can just come in and be in that car with you, whereas a car, like, you can't just do that unless you're GTAing it.
Yeah.
So it's like here, since you're walking around every day from your crib to the station, from the station through the cars, through the terminal, and then up, and then wherever you're going, you're seeing there's so many mentally ill people on the train. That's like a huge problem the MTA has. There's a lot of mentally ill people that they should do something about as soon as possible. And it's like, so you see that. So I'm assuming that what those people think when they hear someone jump, and they're like, of course, like, I'm putting in quotes for those who are only listening, like, another one of these, like, came in doing spin kicks with Chef Boyardee just flying all over the place, and now you jump in front of the goddamn shit, and now I'm going to be mad late. And the thing is, it's like, you're a very, from what I'm getting, like, you're a very positive person. You're very open-minded and like acceptance of what will come and seeing the beauty in things kind of person. You have, like, it seems like you got a lot of heart. You have a lot of like humanity and like humane characteristics in you. Some people aren't like that. Some people are gonna be like, the fuck out of my face with this jumping in front of the train shit. Like, this shit's late every day. And now the day it's not late, someone jumps, of course.
Yeah, of course.
And then last night, someone almost spin kicked me, and now they jump the next night. Whereas you, since you see the beauty in things, so you're like, it's time to be a human.
Yeah.
And like, it's time to help. Other people would be like, it's not about human this, human that. It's about getting home because I got to wake up at 5 a.m. You know what I mean? Like, it's a crazy city. Like, no doubt. It definitely has like its insanely beautiful parts, but it also has those parts. What amazes me that I'm going to try to like honestly take and learn from is just how positive you are about all of it. How like appreciative you are. Like, you literally looked me in my eyeballs and said that the train is everything.
That shit is everything to me, bro.
Yeah, like,
bro, for real.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's honestly amazing for me to hear. You speak about how you grew up on 88th Street and you looked out the window of your apartment. You would see so many sights. You would see real life happening before your eyes. You just see so many things that you remember. You would tell your family, come and look at this. Yeah. And now you don't live there no more. Now you're never going to look out that window anymore. You live somewhere else, and maybe that's not even an apartment building anymore. Or maybe no one lives there anymore. No one's ever going to live there anymore. And how much that affected you. You look at your work, and you shoot a lot of artists of all types, from rappers to writers, graffiti writers, to just people who run their own small businesses, which I consider artists.
Yeah, for sure.
Out of New York City, and it's honestly like done so much for you. It's influenced you and affected the way you live and see the world tremendously. What do you think about just New York and the influence it's had upon you?
Damn, I mean, just like the train is everything. I mean, dude, that it's so hard to just like start talking about because I have so many points in my head that I want to cover. But ultimately, like, I owe everything to, you know, my experiences growing up. And, like, I'm going to try to break it down like this. Like, I grew up in a household. My parents, like I said, are community college professors. They've been teaching there for 30 years. My dad's from Queens. My mom's from Ottawa. And I was born and raised in the same apartment that my parents still live in now. I never moved until I left their apartment. My world was the Upper West Side for, you know, the first half of my existence. And it eventually got bigger and bigger with, you know, having more freedom in moving around the city and, you know, in my own personal endeavors as I got older. But, like, everything down to taking the MTA bus to work, to middle school, you know, walking from 88th to 96th in West End to my elementary school, you know, being able to be outside on the Upper West Side in the early 2000s, you know, as an elementary school student, like, you know, I was experiencing everything under the sun that I could possibly have imagined, just within that, you know, 20, 30 block radius. You know, I grew up in Central Park and in Riverside Park. Those areas I know like the back of my hand. Every single block has something that brings me back there, or some type of reference that I think about very often. And, like, all the little intricacies of just, like, growing up in a commuter city that's as diverse and as special as, you know, this place is, I owe everything to. Like, you know, my parents' view on, you know, they're fairly progressive, liberal people with, you know, the idea of humanity is something that's huge to them. And they raised me with that kind of lens on just communicating with people and, like, having an open mind about other people's cultures and, you know, ways of expressing themselves. And since I was put out into the city with that type of, you know, head on my shoulders, like, it's provided everything to me, and I'm trying to provide that back with the work that I'm doing. But I mean, I owe everything to it. Like, now that I live in a different neighborhood and I'm able to view things with a different lens, especially through, you know, working so much and having all these very kind of, like, ripe experiences, dude, I'm gonna stay here forever, bro. I wanna ride this thing out. Like, it's changed and impacted every single facet of my personality, even outside work, even outside photography. Like, the way that I dress, the way that I talk, you know, the way that I interact with people, the way I fucking make eye contact with people, a head nod up and a head nod down is a big difference. Like, even those things are, like, you know, it's so deeply in my DNA.
You'd never, like you said, you're gonna stay here forever. You never thought of leaving, because I know a lot of Michael Elijah.
Mm-hmm.
I remember a few years ago, like, every time I'd see him, he was just talking about just, like, how he's lived here forever.
Mm-hmm.
Things are not feeling the same, or he feels burnt out, and he ended up moving away for a little. And
Right.
You never felt like that?
I mean, not deeply enough to do it, for sure. I've had, like, an instance where I'm like, oh, yo, fuck this. Like, this sucks. Like, if I lived somewhere else, this wouldn't be the case, right? Like, we've all had those thoughts. Have I ever wanted to actually act on it? No. I mean, when I was moving out of my parents' crib, the only rule was no Brooklyn. You know, like, I was staying in Manhattan no matter what. Like, that was the only rule I had. And this time around moving in Brooklyn, like, the only thing was, like, I'm just going to be in New York. Like, I wanted to find a place that I could afford. And I went through way more shit than I had to find a place in Brooklyn that I could have been out. You know, I had money. I had shit going on for me. I could have been out. But no, I didn't even cross my mind.
Do you miss living on 88th or Upper West Side? Do you feel weird living in Brooklyn now?
Yo, so, like, I moved to Harlem. So I took a gap year after high school where I was living on the Upper West Side. And then when I decided not to go back to school, my parents were like, well, you got to get out the crib. So I moved to Harlem with a few of my best friends. And I was there for, like, 4 years. And I just miss uptown Manhattan, like, Upper West Side to, like, deep in Harlem, whether it's, like, 180-something on the west side, like, all the way down to, like, 59th Street. I miss that area OD. Like, the avenues of West End, like Riverside, West End, Broadway, Amsterdam, Columbus, Central Park West, like those avenues all the way up and down the west side of Manhattan, I miss them a lot. I really do. But, I mean, the new place I live is, and I wrote this in a post recently, the Upper West Side is not what it used to be at all. And, like, it's genuinely kind of disheartening and sad to get out of the train and see what the neighborhood has become, especially on Broadway. Like, it's stale, it's sterile, it's boring. It's not, there's no mom and pop shops. It's all corporate businesses. It's mostly banks and Bed Bath and Beyonds. Like, I'm not down for that. And it sucks. But moving to Bensonhurst and being in kind of like a grimy Section 8, like low and, you know, like low income housing, like, it reminds me of where I grew up and what it used to be. Like, every business is a mom and pop business for the most part. I mean, the craziest thing that's like corporate in my area is like 5 blocks away there's a Target. But like for the most part, everything else is like mom and pop shops, like family run businesses. And like my building is weird and kind of grimy and gross, but I love it. Like the people who, you know, stand out, like, have you guys seen Requiem for a Dream? Really famous movie, but the thing that stood out to me most was they were on Coney Island, and it was like this one character who was the main character's mom. She had like a whole group of like old women that would sit on like lawn chairs outside their building with like those big like mirrors, tanning, like with their hair done, whatever. Like that was what, you know, South Brooklyn looked like to me in my mind's eye. And now like I walk out my building and there are those old ladies sitting on their lawn chairs chilling in my place. Like, I'm super grateful to live in a place that's like kind of untouched by gentrification. I don't know anybody in that neighborhood. I know one person in that neighborhood and we've never linked up. You know, like I literally go there and like I pop out in my chanclas and my sweatpants and stuff like that. I like getting fly. I don't do that anywhere else. Like that neighborhood is exactly what I needed to be reminded of where I come from, and I had no idea it would be, and I love that for real. But I do miss Uptown.
Yeah, because I'm from South Brooklyn too, and like I know exactly what you're talking about. Like for the majority of my life up until I met like these dudes, like I never been to like the Lower East Side or like hung out there at least. Like
that's dope.
I live like 30-minute train ride from Times Square, and I've probably been there like once in my life before like venturing out. And like I would just stay in South Brooklyn because that's what I was like comfortable with.
Yeah.
And I see like they're trying to gentrify. They've been like taking down like old school diners and stuff,
Yes.
but like they put up these condos, but like nobody even lives in them. They're all empty. So
They're
like
empty.
especially right now, like people don't really have money to be like going into them. And like, and I know what you're talking about, like Coney Island, yo. I go there a bunch. I'm like 2 stops away, and it's the old school like Dominican dudes, Puerto Rican dudes, just like playing blasting music. You truly feel like a New York essence from that area, you know what I mean? And it's still staying true, like even through all these changes in other parts of New York City. It's pretty sick. I hope it, you know, stays like that for a while. You know?
I think it's like that next reach of gentrification is going to be South Brooklyn, especially Bay Ridge. But
oh yeah, Bay Ridge has been changing. Yeah.
Bay Ridge is changing a lot. It's getting a lot more expensive. I think that's dope, that you didn't leave South Brooklyn a lot, because like we kind of had opposite experiences where like I was uptown like most of my life. I went to Brooklyn to party and shit here and there when I got, you know, within like my early 20s, but like I didn't really leave the Upper West Side and uptown that often either. So like me moving to your hood was a whole new thing for me. But the cool thing about those neighborhoods is there are generations of people who have been there. I was talking about this with my parents. They came and visited me, and we went to Coney Island the other day. And they were talking about, like, people own their homes over there. Yeah. Like, people have been in their homes for 3 generations. Like, the demographic and kind of the way shit is set up over there with, you know, 1 and 2 family homes, those types of style things, like, it's a little more gridlocked. I mean, developers and landlords can sell their land and their space, but, like, if it's one family that owns that spot, they're not going anywhere. Yeah. And, like, Bay Ridge, Gravesend, Bensonhurst, all those areas, like, there's so much family-owned stuff, and I think that's why it's going to be even hard for gentrification to touch those areas. Because, like, you know, on the Upper West Side and all of, like, you know, uptown Manhattan is apartment buildings. Like, and those things usually aren't co-ops. They're usually renters. So, like, the renters have no power. The landlords can go ahead and knock down the building, build something that's more expensive, and, you know, impact all these families' lives, and it doesn't mean shit. You can't really do that in those neighborhoods, because if you knock down somebody's house, like, that's one family's house. Like, it's a very different thing. But I mean, I love that you're from South Brooklyn, bro. I don't know many people from out there, and like the more and more time I spend like in the cut in little blocks and biking around and like just looking at what it has to offer. Yo, it's so dope.
I didn't know you were that close, bro. We gotta link up.
Link,
I'll show you some food spots.
Bro, please, I need that.
There's some crazy ones out there.
There's definitely some crazy ones out there.
Yo, yeah, I go to this one Japanese spot across the street from my crib, like, religiously. Like, they're tired of me at this point. They close at 7:30. I'm there at, like, 7:28 every day trying to place an order.
Yeah, so you talk about how when you started shooting photos, it gave you a sense of purpose and a sense of like a sense of meaning. How when you developed your first roll of film, you felt like exceptional at something that you hadn't had felt before. You had other hobbies like basketball or whatever, and you just didn't feel like they were necessarily your thing. And upon shooting, you realized it's something that you can, like a path you can devote yourself wholeheartedly to. What made you start shooting photos, and what do you mean by a higher purpose? Like, what is your higher purpose with shooting photos?
Just to give some context, like, my family is very academic. My parents, like I said, are professors. My brother is going into academia and social work. My sister is as well. And, you know, in high school, I was a really shitty student. And I think that conflict in general of me just not really being able to find something that I'm supposed to be good at, you know what I mean? Like, my brother and sister were great at school. You know, that was something that, like, it seemed like it came easy to them, and I struggled super heavily. Like, I was good socially, but I was getting into trouble. I was stealing a lot of shit. I was, like, you know, painting a little bit. I was being around the wrong people. I was out late. I was doing all the things that, like, you know, like New York parents would be like, oh, shit, he's on a troubled path. And I ended up transferring from an honors high school, Beacon, shout out my Beacon heads, to an alternative school called City As. City As a school. It's a school that offers half internship, half regular school. So I would be doing an internship 3 days a week and then being in school 2 days a week. And that was like my last semester of high school, was doing that at that school. And I was fortunate enough to have the art teacher who was like, she'd been teaching art for like 40 years. I forget her name, which is unfortunate. I wish I could shout her out. But she noticed that I like had something for creativity. I didn't know what it was yet. I just like really, I was always drawing. I was always doing lettering. I was a doodler. And she put me onto screen printing t-shirts, and they had the whole, like, they taught me how to, you know, do the emulsion and make the screens and stretch it and, you know, put the ink on it and everything like that. And that was the first time I'd ever done anything like really creative hands-on. And that like sparked something in me more than I had realized at the moment. But she kind of sparked that for me in general. But my friend Milo saw that I had an interest in taking photos, and he gave me, I think it was a Pentax K1000, which is just like the super classic SLR film camera. And I started shooting from there. My first roll, like, was dumb shit. Like, it was photos of friends. It was, like, the stickers I was putting up in my neighborhood. It was, like, you know, graffiti that I was enjoying, spots that I would frequent. And when I got that first roll developed, I just felt like, A, I was sharing my experiences in a way that made sense. And B, like, I might actually be good at this. Like, I liked the way that they came out. I thought that they were beautiful. I was like, wow, like, this might be a way to share everything that I'm feeling that's been so stifled for so long. And, you know, as I continued doing it, I found more and more joy in just, like, figuring out what it took to make beautiful images. And, like, for the first, like, 2 years I was taking photos. I was using that SLR that Milo gave me. But I was, like, obsessively racking disposable cameras from the CVS near me. And the CVS used to, like, develop film, too. So I would run up like 6 to 9 disposable cameras and bring it back to that same CVS to get developed, and then run the whole thing over and over and over. And that's like how I started doing photography. Like, I would just rack disposable cameras and like be out with friends and take photos of shit that I liked. And it like developed very quickly from there. But, you know, that like excitement of doing something for myself, risking my freedom for something that I thought was important, like just overall getting obsessed with something. Like, I wasn't obsessed with shit, man. Like, I like didn't have anything that I thought I was good at. Like, I played basketball, I hung out with friends, I smoked weed, I chilled in the park, but like those weren't things that really fulfilled me or made me feel like I was doing or contributing anything. And meanwhile, like, my parents were on my ass for being a bad kid. So, like, that all really led me to, like, being like, shit, like, I need to find something. And, you know, it happened very, you know, shout out Milo for giving me that camera and seeing something in me with that. Like, that meant a lot. And I tell people all the time that he gave me my first camera. But, I mean, the goal is to be in a museum. You feel me? Like, I want my work to be revered. I want to be able to share something that, you know, inspires and connects a lot of people. I want the context of who I am and what I do and what my community does to be put on a pedestal and shown in a way that's really important and done very tastefully. Like, I want my work to mean something, and it does mean a lot to me, and I think it does mean a lot to a lot of my peers and the people who follow what I do, but I want it to mean something on a large scale. So for me, the goal is be in a museum before I die, and just communicate something that I feel like is necessary through my work, whether I find that voice to be something that I'm, you know, kind of thinking about now, or whether it be something different, but that's ultimately the goal.
Do you feel like it's difficult to stand out when you're in a city with so many people who pick up a point and shoot, so many people who start shooting from the streets to just their friends to documentary style work, or even it's just like a I'm not gonna say common, but just for lack of a better word, I am gonna say common, like a common, like I'll start shooting my friend's model, or I'll become but maybe not everyone has that real heart and soul in it. Like, I can see real fucking desire and burning passion, but like behind when you speak about it. It means a lot to you. Do you feel like it's hard to stand out or separate yourself from that?
I mean, I think like any art form, there's always going to be whack shit happening around you. And, you know, I mean, I think art and creative endeavors in general, because they've made, you know, in media to be like the way out, or, you know, like a very accessible, you know, career path, which I don't think was the case even in like my childhood or like my parents' childhood. Like, that was not something that was an option for people. Now that people see that it's an option, it's hugely saturated, and it's easy to share stuff. Like, everybody has social media. You can share what you're doing with people very easily. So yeah, I mean, there's like a giant ocean of people who are photographers, and like, yeah, of course it's hard to stand out. I mean, I really believe in what I do, so I don't even really care if I stand out. Like, I'm very grateful that I feel like over the past few years, my work has began to stand out within, you know, like my peer group, and, you know, in general in fashion photography. I feel like I'm starting to make a name for myself. And yeah, it's been totally difficult, but I haven't really focused on that. It's never like I was gonna do this whether I was successful at it or not, because I love it. Like I said, I was creating work in quarantine out of desperation. Like, I was doing it because it was all I had to grasp onto. And like I said, if I feel like I'm good at something, I'm going to continue doing it forever. Yeah, I mean, I think for any photographer that's trying to stand out and their goal is to stand out, they're going to have a really hard time. Like, if your goal is to make amazing work and do something that means something to you and people around you, like, ultimately is going to catch on. If it really genuinely has substance and depth and you're creating a good product, it's just like any business. People are going to fuck with it. People are going to like it. But if your goal is to stand out, then good luck. Like, you stand out. Like, tell me how you're going to stand out. Like, for real. Other than, like, really making substantial work. And I feel like what I'm doing is substantial to an extent. And, like, yeah. I mean, I felt that when I first started doing photography. But now that I get deeper into it, I feel very solid in what I'm doing. And, you know, even if I don't get to quit my job soon, or I don't get to, like, be fully freelance within the next few months, like, I'm going to keep doing this until I do. So.
No, yeah, I see that your I'm just going to, like, photography is like your work, and I see that your work, it just pervades every crevice of your life. You talked about how you had just moved from Harlem to South Brooklyn, how you're going to be living on your own for the first time, and telling everyone that they're going to see a change in your work because moving there has changed the way you create your work. The demographic of subjects, the settings, the attitudes, and flavors are endlessly different from one another, and that you've been biking to Coney Island and Brighton Beach to take photos multiple times a week.
Hell yeah.
And it's like you use these, like, you might miss you know, Uptown, you might miss Harlem, you might miss the West Side. But it's like, now that I know you more, it's like it makes total sense that you would say something like that. Like, you're using it, like, you use any situation to just further progress yourself, even if it's like a shitty one. It's like you think about this like if someone gets thrown in a hole or whatever, like you can use that hole to sit and be like, fuck, I'm in a hole, this sucks. Or you can use that hole to straight up like meditate and get stronger. And it seems like whatever hole you're placed in life, not that moving to South Brooklyn is like the hole, but I'm saying like any situation you put in life, you treat it as a place like of almost like you have a really positive mindset. And I think that's something that like, I already said it already like twice probably, but like I need to adopt and also like add that everyone could use.
Yeah.
Not everyone's going to be like as positive, but I see that it's like very effective and it helps you find purpose, helps you find enjoyment in life. And it's like, okay, I moved here, now I can do this. Okay, this, like, good, now I can do this. And it's amazing.
I mean, to be honest, like, South Brooklyn isn't the hole, but I was in a deep fucking hole when I moved there. Like, I had a really rough quarantine year. A lot of shit happened that, you know, I was out of control. Like, it just was out of my control. My circumstances were really difficult, and they put me to a test, and I was deeply depressed, to be honest. Like, I was really, really fucked up during quarantine, and I, like, approached deep, like, messed up depression for the first time in my life. And moving to South Brooklyn, for me, really is, like, in time, the moment I started healing. Because I was able to get out of a really difficult situation and be put in a circumstance that's brand new to me. I mean, I had never lived alone before. I had never had that many bills. I had, you know, I was leaving all the people, like the people I was roommates with, I'd known since middle school. Those were like the only people I knew very intimately. So like my family lived uptown. Like I literally left home and started something that I had no idea where it would lead me. And like over the past year, like I've found myself in the most, you know, in my own view, the most successful I've ever been. And, you know, like the circumstances I were in really sucked, man. And like I still have healing to do on that point, but I appreciate you saying that because like I really found the same within myself. And, you know, I proved that to myself once again, that like I had the foresight to do something for myself and put in the hard work and go through a lot of shit to kind of find my footing. And now I'm 10 toes down with what I'm doing. I love what I'm doing. You know, my job is great. Photography work, I think, is impeccable. Like the people around me are sick. Like I'm keeping to myself. I feel like a grown man. Like everything is good for me now, but I definitely was in a hole for real. And like I had to go through that to even gain the type of positivity and appreciation I have now. One thing that you said that I want to touch on is like you said, being in a hole, you choose what you want to do within that hole. My homegirl put me onto a book. It's called Who Took My Cheese? And it's like a self-help book. It's like 40 pages long or something. It's like super simple. But the concept is like if you put 3 humans in a maze with a big-ass piece of cheese and then 3 mice in a maze with a big-ass piece of cheese, and they know that there's another piece of cheese somewhere in that maze, right? Like, the cheese represents success, you know, like wholeness within yourself and, like, being in a good place. Once the humans figure out that they finished their cheese and they got to go find a new one, they start talking about, like, dude, how are we going to do this? Like, where's the cheese? Like, what if we get lost? They have all these, like, what ifs. A mouse finishes their cheese and they're on to the next one. They don't give a fuck what happens within that maze. Like, they're going to find that next piece of cheese on instincts. It's like that human idea of doubt and, like, getting within yourself and not being able to, like, realize that you're in dire straits, that you need to do something about it instead of worry about what you're going to do. That book helped me do that. Like, that, you know, comparison of reaction types, like, you know, I'm human, so I'm always going to have those doubts. But if I act like a mouse in that situation, I'm going to go find my cheese. So if I'm in the bottom of that hole, like, yeah, I'm going to meditate and get stronger until I can climb out of that. So, like, that is definitely a mentality that I kind of, like, try to adhere to as much as I can. Even though, of course, I get caught up. But, like, that's definitely something that's on my mind in a very kind of, like, cyclical basis. Like, if I'm going through some shit, that's one of the things that goes through. Like, I'm just like, all right, let me get back on it. And it's a bit tiring, and like I definitely am on, like, by the end of every day my social battery is on 0, my work battery is on 0, but like the next day it's at 100. So like those are the types of things that I think about a lot, actually. So I like that you brought that up.
Yeah, honestly, I just thought of something too. It's like for people who listen to the show all the time, like one of the huge things in my life is like training jiu-jitsu. That's like something that's big for me. And for whoever doesn't do that, like just a long story short, it's kind of like big on positional advantages. Like you attacking someone when, like, let's say they're all tied up, and maybe they have to use their right arm to plant on the ground so they don't face plant. So that since they have to do that, you use whatever. But one thing that's like kind of a known thing is that no matter what position you're in, and I'm just kind of speaking of this like philosophically, like in life, if you're in the worst position, but no matter which position you're in, let's say someone's like behind me and about to strangle me, I'm about 3 moves away from being behind you if I do the 3 right moves. Maybe someone's mounted on me where like I cannot strike or choke or do anything to them, and they can do the only thing I can do is defend. I'm literally like 1 move away from being able to break your knee. If like you just better do the right thing, or like you have to do the wrong thing and I have to do the right thing. And I think that in life and the way you approach things, it's very similar. Like, okay, you go through this suffering, you go through this thing, and you're like you're gonna bust 2 moves. Maybe mentally or physically, like moving or mentally changing your space. And now you just said I'm in the best or most successful place in my career, or whatever it is that you said that I've ever been in. When just before that you were maybe in like the most depression you've been in, you were like 2 moves away. Or if you're on the train and you see some dude tweaking out, you can think of it as like, this is the worst thing that's ever happened. Why is it? Why? Or you can say like, now I use this as a time to realize that I'm not in control and maybe express some sort of humanity and help this guy out. And it's like, pretty much whatever situation you're in, like what you do is like just make the most out of it. It's like very simple pathway. Like, I'll make the most out of it, and sitting there and sulking, like, I'm a person who probably would have sat and sulked. I would have been like, this fucking dude really just dead jumped in front of the shit. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, it's already taken me 2 hours to get home, and now some dude, you couldn't have jumped in front of the last one, bro? Or like, that's what I'll probably think. And it's not a good way to think, because the dude jumped already. It's already done. Like, now I have to make the most out of it. And like, then you're becoming like you said, the I'm gonna act like the human or whatever, like, not the mouse. Like, I'm gonna sit there like all the other humans and be like, fuck. Instead of actually doing something progressive about it. So that's like something I really respect, and like what Appreciate it is that you do. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
Another question is, you do an artist series. You've had some pretty sick writers in there, and you've shot photos of some pretty sick writers. Like, you did Asset, you did Rebo, you did Geshu, and like Geshu. You've just what's your relationship with Graph, and also you can talk about like the artist series and what that is.
Yeah, definitely. There's gonna be a little rant because I love graffiti.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I didn't necessarily grow up with any family members who did graffiti, but something about it, even as a little kid, just caught my eye. Like, on the Upper West Side, there was some really ill writers growing up. Like Niso before he went away. Like there was just, Guess Who was one of my favorite writers growing up. It was just really ill to see all these like uptown heads getting really busy with graffiti, with stickers, tags. People were very active on the Upper West Side growing up. So for me, it was just something that like was a part of my visual relationship to New York. I started working when I got, so in high school, a lot of my friends wrote, but they didn't really get busy the way a lot of active graffiti writers really get. And at the time, I thought they were ill, but as I grow up, I'm like, all right, yeah, y'all were just writing and interested in it, which is just as sick. But I really got introduced to people who really paint religiously when I was interning at Only New York. So I took a gap year between high school and getting back into school, and my first 2 internships were Only NY and Mass Appeal magazine. And the dudes who worked at Only, like, they really wrote. Like, a lot of their friends were really out bombing every single night for the most part. Like, that was my first time really interacting with heads who, like, did it as a passion. And, like, that raw expression of risking your freedom to put your antonym up, like, it's not even your real name. You feel me? Like, you're putting up something else. And, like, that idea of being so passionate and so enthralled with that feeling and that expression was just something that stuck with me. Like, I just thought it was the dopest shit ever. Like, as somebody who was approaching it, as somebody who wasn't, like, raised in it, I was like, y'all are ill as fuck, like everything about what graffiti writers do to me is really sick. I mean, like when you think about graffiti in like in art form, it's the only art form that like not only is it accessible to everybody, people are forced to look at it. I love that. I think that's amazing. I think, and like when we talk about being on the train and like taking all these things in, like graffiti is like the hieroglyphs that write the stories of like what people are really doing in the subway tracks. And like, you know, I sit in the same exact seat on the N train every single day just to look at the scratchies. Every single day I sit in that same seat.
Some map scratchies.
So, Map, shout out Map.
Revs?
I see Revs, I see
Ojo.
Shiesta, I see like a Snowman, I see like a bunch of just people that like I have relationships with too. Like I'll sit down and see like some CB shit sitting right next to me, and in my mind I'm like, my homie was sitting in the same seat. Like graffiti charges me up in a way that other art forms do not. It just like, it's the only thing for me that like that shit's doper than skateboarding. It's doper than photography. It's doper. Like that's the coolest shit you can do in my mind. Like not, and I don't mean superficial cool. I mean like substantially, it holds so much weight in society. I think it's amazing. And like if you understand, like I'm a nerd when it comes to graffiti. All my books at home are with graffiti. I've read everything back and forth. I'm on every podcast. I love this shit. If you understand the history of where graffiti came from and where that expression comes from and like how it's progressed into the art form it is now, like even with social media and shit, like it's just progressed. It's the newest art form. Like photography is from the 1800s, right? Like late 1800s. That other than graffiti, what's the other newest art form? Maybe like digital stuff, but like real like hands-on art. Like graffiti is the newest art form. It's the newest. It's like, it's sick. I love it. So, I mean, that's kind of how I was introduced to it, just through, like, being in the right place at the right time. Mass Appeal magazine was really interesting because I was an assistant editor, and they were doing this series called What You Write, and I was, like, editing and, you know, proofreading and kind of helping people do the What You Write series. And that was my first, you know, introduction to people documenting graffiti, people, like, really taking it seriously as an art form and making sure that it's contextualized and there's a blurb written with it and people know who you are and where you're from and what crew you rep and all that stuff. That's where I really learned game of just like, other than street knowledge, but like real like academic game of like studying an art form. That's where I really learned a lot. Like one of the ones that stuck out to me was that dude Sabio did this crazy, you know, Pisha Sal type style piece on 14th Street, right where there used to be this big ass like Harlem face. It was like that like rail that led to a wall above where the train would go, and there was a big ass Harlem face, and like right under it was Sabio. And like some dude, I forget who, I wish I knew, photographed him doing that piece, and I was the one that helped write along with it. And then, you know, 6 years later, I'm photographing him and like, you know, being cool with him as well. So that was something that, you know, those full circle moments that have to do with graffiti are really sick. And documenting graffiti artists kind of started the artist series for me. Being outside and knowing that like there was a lot of risk in what I was doing to capture what I was doing was really attractive to me. And my kind of like inspiration that I drew from graffiti writers definitely ignited my appreciation for other art forms too. Like to see how people navigate through graffiti, and then, you know, start learning more about fine art and painters and other photographers and, you know, graphic designers and business owners, and like really applying that same kind of like search of knowledge and curiosity within graffiti ignited the other stuff. So a lot of my work is like contextualizing my own experiences with visuals, but like I want to be able, through my photojournalism and documentary work, to contextualize other people and how they relate to me and how they relate to, you know, the milieu of what's happening in general with artists. So I've always felt like my peers are some of the most important people to grace the planet. I love my peers. I think everyone who's doing, you know, who's really dedicated to an art form, who's really dedicated to a job, to, you know, taking care of family, whatever it is, like I have a lot of appreciation and love for my peers. And I think that's kind of just like the artist series is an extension of me trying to show and contextualize what's happening with my peers, but as well like a deep appreciation of just like people being dedicated to an art form. And like I really want to show New York in general right now. I mean, eventually I want to do it all over the world, but I want to show New York's output. Like, New York's output is really high and really really good right now. Like, there's a lot of really dope artists around me that are making incredible work on a very kind of like impressive output. They're putting stuff out all the time. They're, you know, furthering their fields. They're doing brand collaborations. They're impacting other artists. They're doing talks. Like, there's so much happening right now that if I'm able to take photos of people and put a story to it and show how they relate to my journey and other people's journeys and kind of build this web and show and contextualize all these different people doing ill shit within, you know, how big is New York? 12 miles or something like that, 12-mile radius. Like, that's really dope. Like, I'm really trying to just show people what's going on in New York. And, like, the people I curate typically have a very deep connection to me personally. But, like, I'm very, you know, selective about the people I choose and the quality of work that I want to be expressed through this. And I think the people I've featured have been really impressively good artists, even graffiti writers. Like, the people, like, interviewing Guess Who was so dope because we grew up a block away from each other, and he is such a different, you know, each one of those series has taught me so much. Like, the amount of game I learned from other people is just off the charts. Like, people bless me with knowledge on a weekly basis because I do the artist series pretty much. I have a large backlog of them as well right now, and I'm just working on the writing pieces of each and figuring out the photo layouts. But I mean, I've been doing it for like 1 3/4 years, and like, I've grown so much mentally just by talking to people. And I'm sure you guys experience the same on a podcast where people are in here dropping knowledge and you're able to soak it up if you have the right attitude. The people around me have taught me so much shit, like from people who have a large following to people who have no following at all. Like, the people I'm featuring like have so much to offer everybody, and I just want to share that. Like, I really want to make sure that these people who are doing so much cool shit at this exact moment are gonna be solidified in something. You know, like, I eventually want to make a book out of it. But yeah, I mean, it comes from just a long kind of like built up process of just being obsessed with other people's work. Like,
no, I definitely feel that. And just like in terms of, I want to say like a few things. So like, one of them being like your appreciation for Graph and you know, and just your artist series and stuff. Like, I also have like a big appreciation for Graph. Honestly, it's you know, sometimes on some episodes I'll talk about how like it can take over your life, and then you end up like not thinking about nothing except for painting, to the point where like you're not doing anything, and like
facts.
You can't see straight, which like is true. But on the other hand, like I can't just sit here and blast, because it's changed my life dramatically from the friends that I met through it, and just led to a bunch of things. And when we started this show, the first people to receive us with open arms were the writers.
Yeah.
The first people who without a question, like Charlie, immediately was down. Then the Nove immediately was down, and just, you know, like Claw and Jest, and just everybody from the start, the people who we received the most attention from, like, because you know, it's been mainly Graph, but we also have done like skateboarders, we've done tattooers, we've done photographers, but the main people who were always there from the start, like before we were only mainly doing writers, were the writers, and all of them were so different. Like, it wasn't just like I don't know, they're so different. Each person is insanely different. They're very different, and in terms of learning things from other people, like no doubt this podcast is tremendously beneficial to me, aside from everything else, because I learned so much. Like, you can truly learn something from everyone. Like, just like you coming in here, I learned so much just about things I need to work on in my life, flaws that I may have, and positive qualities that you have that I'm lacking in, that I should just, you know, try to adopt or learn from. Or just everybody who comes in here, even if someone gives us like a hard time, there's something to be learned from that.
Hell yeah.
You know what I mean?
Definitely.
And it's probably the same thing with your artist series. Like you said, like, you're just dealing with different people, and there are so many, it's crazy. Like, so many people have interesting stories and a really in-depth mind. And it's like, not surprising. Like, we have a fucking supercomputer inside of our skull that like has its own little ideas and opinions that like we observe something and we'll think something of it, and that'll lead to a bunch of other. But it's so easy to go around life thinking like, yo, everybody's straight up mindless. That's like, it's so easy to think that. It's so easy to, let's say, be on the train and be like, everyone in here is a fool except for me. I'm in a cylinder with a bunch of idiots. Like, if this thing crashes, like, this is going to suck. But when you really sit down and talk to people, even if they haven't fucking, even if they haven't had the craziest life that's like movie stuff,
Yeah.
they still are insanely like thoughtful. They're interesting to talk to. Like, it's just honestly amazing. I've gained so much, and just seeing some of the stuff. I think it's really important what you do, like with the artist series, because some of the people that you have on, they're not people who everyone's gonna know.
No.
Like, it's not people who, and especially you have different followers, so some people might see Guess Who, and they might not know, like who's this dude.
Yeah, the Graffiti series don't do that
exactly.
well. Like insights wise, and like looking at likes and shares. Like, I mean, Rebo's blew up because people already like kind of know him. He's super prolific.
Mm-hmm.
But like the lower key writers, like people don't really know or care that much about them. But like they have so much deep substance, which is exactly what you're touching on now. Like everyone has crazy stories to tell. I mean,
sharing the culture. You're not even graffiti culture, but just like arts and culture and tradition in general. Like from the rappers you do, and just all the different kinds of artists, people who, like I was saying, run their own small businesses. It's like, I wouldn't know about these people if I didn't. And
that's dope.
I don't know. I feel like with what you do, there's a lot of substance to it. It's not just about. I truly think that what you're doing with your photography work is not just about making pretty images, but also about really evoking some sort of like feeling and thought. I usually look at photos and I don't really think or too much about them. Like it's not like I'll get a feeling and thought about it. But when I saw your stuff and reading the words you do, and just I don't know, I told him, like, I'm like, yo, I'm hyped to talk to him because like I don't think that my building's ugly anymore or whatever. I don't know. Like it changed my mind on stuff, bro.
No, I'm really happy to hear that my work had an impact on your own insights. Like, I mean, that's essentially the goal, to have any type of positive impact on somebody's thought process. I'm always amazed that people have, good reactions to what I have to say, because I speak very genuinely and purely about, how I think. If you look at me speaking right now, like my eyes are everywhere because I don't really I'm speaking exactly what's coming to my mind, and like it means a lot. And that's typically like when the stuff that you read that I wrote, looking back on it, it was a pretty split second thought. Like I had, these are things that like kind of build and like end up, being put in a way that's, I guess, pretty well like written and presented, because I care about putting out high quality work in that sense. But they weren't like years of thought put into it. It might have been years of like tiny little things dropping in here and there in my experiences, but for the most part, like what I'm writing is just straight up off the dome. And like when I speak about shit like that, it's really more of a feeling than a thought. So it means a lot that people react well to it, because it's me on a platter. I'm just like, here y'all go.
No, absolutely. I think you, like I was saying, I think you do an amazing job. What are you working on next? If you want anyone to check out any of your stuff, or anything you'd like to say.
I mean, I'm going to be continuing the artist series for quite a long time. But my commercial work has really picked up. That's something that's probably the newest thing in my career. I've 2 more editorials with the North Face to come out, more graffiti-based stuff I actually got arrested making, which is not the first time doing that, but definitely a good backstory. I got something coming up with Carhartt Work in Progress. I got something coming up with ProKeds. These are, people and clients that I've worked with for years now, so it's cool to see it kind of starting to, roll into something that's more sustainable financially, and also just like creatively have a higher output of just, commercial work, because that's essentially like brand partnerships and stuff. That's how you make money and get noticed eventually. Like a lot of the artists I talk to that are older say, I stopped doing brand partnerships when I was 45, and now I survive just off my work. So I'm kind of following the footsteps and hoping that, the commercial work that I approach with an artistic standpoint and like feel like it has substance because of my own relationships and because of the people I'm featuring or photographing. That's the new stuff for me. I mean, I'm continuing to make a lot of personal work. I'm photographing a shit ton in Coney Island and Bay Ridge and Bensonhurst. And that stuff is really dope. Like, I'm really inspired by a lot of the portraiture and experiences and interactions and stuff I've been writing. Probably the newest and coolest project I'm working on now, I've been working with Wiki. Me and Wiki connected through the Good Company when I was the manager over there, and we worked a little bit hand in hand, and over the years we got a little bit closer. And he approached me with a project that he dropped the first 2 songs of, released the album, announced the album releasing October 1st, completely produced by Navy Blue. I did all the art direction and all the photography along with that project, so we'll be releasing some vinyls accompanied with a book and a poster of my own work. The gatefold would be a photo of Wiki and Sage that I took. Being able to work hand in hand with him and his team has been really dope, and like making a physical product is always something that's special as a photographer, because we live in a very digital kind of universe, so being able to contribute to a physical product has been really sick. And I've done art direction and consultancy work, but not on that scale and not with something that's so meaningful to me. So I'm really excited to put that project out and kind of like finish all the last touches that need to be panned out the way as they are currently. But that's really dope. Yeah. Otherwise, like, I work an 11 to 7 job 5 days a week. So I'm just grinding really hard, trying to continue to make new work. But I'm excited to show you guys what I've been working on. It's been picking up to a crazy pace. Like, I went from doing, a gig every month max, maybe every 2 months, to, having 2-3 gigs a month, and really excited to just show you guys what this is me proving myself at this point. Like, for me, I've been doing proof of concept for the past 6 years. I've proved to myself that it's somewhat sustainable and a good art form and something that means a lot to me, and I've figured out my voice in a sense. But this is me trying to all right, now the pressure's up. I have a full-time job. I got to kind of figure out really how to balance this all. And, being able to do this amount of work and have this much output, I never imagined myself doing it. I wanted it for myself for so long. But now that I'm actually doing it, I'm excited to share and prove to you guys that I can actually be a fucking professional photographer.
No, I'm excited to see everything that you got cooking up. I also wanted to say thank you, because you shot that photo of Asset in the yard.
Hell yeah.
And that was a dope photo. Everyone loved it. And for everyone who doesn't know, we tagged you in the photo. So if you guys want to find his Instagram, and I'll also tag it and everything. But yeah, I want to say thanks for doing that, and thanks for coming on the show. It's been
my pleasure.
An amazing conversation. I learned a lot.
Immense thank you, bro. One big thing that I took from this that I've been thinking about throughout the episode was just how much appreciation you have for the little things,
life.
You talking about the MTA.
I don't appreciate life enough.
Yeah, no, definitely not, bro. Fucking have no dark ass eyes, bro. But your description of the MTA and everything you talked about, the smallest details, to me when you said that, it was the formula for unity and peace in the world.
It really is,
just people just truly appreciating the moment that they're in, and not fucking hating everything, because that's the reason road rage happens, fights happen, people are so tense, you know what I mean? So it was sick hearing that, you know what I mean?
That, bro.
Thank you so much for coming, bro.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Peace.